Hello everyone. I am your humble first player, and I hope you all got my memo this morning because we need at least 3 cans of food to stave off the raiders outside, because we are being raided right now.
Ah, don't worry, Chief. I put mine in this morning.
Well, yeah, but about that, wouldn't it be smarter to just have like a log or something, or have the closet be open instead of having everyone put things in?
Without further ado, let's get this started and make sure that we have enough food to fend off the enemies. Excellent. Can of food.
By the way, I have been standing outside and shooting zombies for literally 4 days, and I've not seen any raiders at all. In fact, I could probably fend them off if they were to, be...
Alright, it's more food. Yeah, this is from the library.
Yeah, that one's mine. I went to the library.
Plus, this doesn't even make sense. If there were actually raiders outside, wouldn't they come in and just storm the colony instead of just demanding 3 cans of food and walking off?
This is a padlock.
Garfield? Did you put that in there?
Well, no. No.
Do you see what you've done? You've doomed us all. I'd like to start off today's review with a quote from Will Wheaton, the patron saint of modern board gaming. When I started playing games in the before times, back in the long ago, tabletop games fell into a couple of broad categories: war games and everything else. The idea of playing a game where we were all working together was incomprehensible to us. Reflecting on that statement, I found myself amazed at how far the genre of cooperative games have come. Even though the renaissance of board gaming is only about as old as I am, I'm fascinated by how we've gone from the first prophets of cooperative gaming, like Matt Leacock, to where we are now. Every month, more cooperative games hit the market, and frankly, some of them feel kind of saturated now. I mean, yes, there are some interesting ideas, but a lot of them just feel kind of the same, and because of a number of reasons, really. Reason number one, a lot of them are masterable. A lot of them you can figure out their systems, and you can predict what's going to happen. Another problem is quarterbacking, which I think I've discussed before, is when one player sort of takes the lead in a game of less experienced players, which isn't bad necessarily all the time. But today's game is different, because today's game does not rely on, beautiful cover art or some sort of computer-generated random program. Instead, Dead of Winter is a game that generates its excitement with a very simple question. That is, can you really trust the guy sitting next to you? Right, so Dead of Winter was released in April 2015, and I picked it up less than a human gestational period later. But by the time I had purchased it, I had already seen reviews, unboxings, tutorials, a tabletop episode, major network coverage. The Wall Street Journal had an article on it. Even Ellen talked about it for a while. So I understand if you're groaning because I'm covering this very, very... Can you see me? This very, very old game. That being said, there are many people I know who are not familiar with tabletop games. In fact, I would argue that the majority of the world is unfamiliar with these games. And if you are, then congratulations, you're part of my target demographic. I want to show you that this is a game that's not just Left 4 Dead or something like that, where there are just legions of zombies that you're mowing down with your shotgun and your chainsaw and looking awesome doing it. This is a very real, very intense game where things like as minute and trivial as cold, starvation, even one zombie can pose a threat to your life. And worst of all, when you call your friend for extra ammo for your gun or gasoline to power up your car so you can escape back to the safety of your home base, and they say that they're all out,
they might be lying.
So how does that actually work? If this is a game where we're trying to survive in this very real feeling, very cold, very just horrible reality, and we all have this group objective to work towards by the end of the game, then what could possibly cause deceit? Well, for you to win as a player, you must complete your secret objective. Never mind this. Your secret objective is what's going to let you win the game. Now, to be fair, most of the time that will include controlling or completing the main objective, but this might include stockpiling gas, collecting books for yourself, whatever. There is a big fat deck of these things. There are so many possibilities as to what your personal goal could be for the end of the game. So it's a question of who has the colony's interests in mind and who is trying to work towards their own selves, and who can you wall off as a player. And that's the game. It's a question of selfishness, and that's kind of a theme that you see throughout the game as you play, which is very interesting because it creates a dynamic where you have to very carefully balance, how important is it to you that this is complete versus how important it is to you that you complete your own thing. And that will take its form in many different ways throughout the game, because this game is just dripping with cool mechanics that we'll discuss later. For example, one of the major limiting factors in this game are these action dice. You don't get this many, you only get a few. And those basically dictate how many useful actions you can take in a turn. And the question of how many of those dice you spend on doing stuff that's more selfish towards you or better for the colony is a really interesting one that I don't see in games, that no one sees in games very often. Most of the time it's just pure co-op or pure cutthroat devilishness. Now, I can already hear you, you sweet summer child. You're thinking, screw these guys. I'm going to do my own thing and I'm going to do it right. I'm going to be my own person and not have to conform to these guys and do what they say. Yes, but the problem is that this game just punishes you as a group because so many things here impact your survivability. You need to constantly feed your people. You need to fend off zombies, either by just brute force or maybe with these barricade tokens. The trivial things like waste disposal and resource management are absolutely crucial to you, because failure to attend to any of these things, which you will not have time to attend to all of them, to be quite frank, will drop your morale, which represents the overall attitude and work ethic of the colony. And if morale hits 0, it's game over for everybody, because the colony has just become so dissatisfied with itself that it's become anarchy and everyone's left. Tick-tock. Dead of Winter, I'm so sorry, there are just so few angles in my bedroom. Dead of Winter plays with this theme, this emotion, this idea of balancing what you want and what needs to be done so much, and it's beautiful. Because yes, you want to, drive over to the police station and find a sniper rifle so that you can shoot zombies from across the map. But you need to get some gasoline, because you need gasoline to fend off the huge siege of zombies that have been plopping up across the colony. But overall, you should be working towards the secret objective, that is, collect samples of zombie, maybe to cure the disease, perhaps. And it just asks you these questions over and over again, and by the end game, every answer is just a wrong answer, because no matter what you do, you're always going to be screwing over yourself, somebody else, or the entire colony. Muddying these waters even more is the fact that one of you guys might not even be working towards the objective. One of you might have a secret objective that is the trader card, and if you have that, you win the game if, yes, you completed your own objective, but also morale's at 0. So you will be working against everybody. You can do such devious things as contribute a bad card to the crisis pile, which is a pile of supplies you need to solve the crisis that happens every round, and that will drop morale massively. You might, eat the food in the food supply to boost your own individual die roll, so you can do more actions or better actions every turn. It's selfish, but that's the thing. Everybody has a selfish objective, and it's so hard to weed out who the traitor is sometimes. And sometimes they can just win by playing the card of, guys, come on, this is the best possible option. This is what we have to do. There's nothing better that we can do than this, even if it means sacrificing somebody else's player for the greater good. Which is beautifully dark, but also a lot of fun. Honestly, there are just so many reasons why you should buy this game because of all of the clever ideas that Plaid Hat Games has packed into this box. This very sturdy box, by the way. Also, I think Plaid Hat Games is about the most Scottish board game company name I've heard in a long time. For example, look here. This is the Crossroads deck. It is this gigorndous deck full of story-based events that trigger with context. For example, this card here will only trigger if somebody controls the character Alexis. Or this card, perhaps, is if somebody drives to the library. Then this story-based event happens. It requires context. It requires a background. So instead of you writing the story for the game writes the story for you. And this adds just so much more flavor. And the best part is, these cards aren't just, flavor text. That could be kind of stupid, actually. They have actual major effects in the game. And it might be nice things like increasing the morale of the colony, which happens less and less as the game goes on. Or perhaps adding a ton of food to the food supply. But it could also be bad. It might wound or kill a survivor. It might deplete all the food in the stash. It could drop morale. And these are the kinds of things that selfish players, or perhaps even a traitor, could exploit for themselves, and citing that it was the best possible option. It's questions like these or story elements like these that make Dead of Winter such an immersive experience more than just a game. Speaking of traitors, there is one weapon that the good aligned players actually have against the traitor, other than their fists, because there are rules for combat. But this is the Exiled Stick. And essentially, once per turn, a player can call an Exile Vote. And that means that everyone has to vote to exile the player in question. And if there is a majority, ties are broken by the first player, by the way, then the person who's been called to exile has to draw one of these cards, and that will change their game dramatically. Their objective will change. They'll be kicked out of the colony. They can no longer contribute cards to the main objective, or the food supply, or the crisis deck. And then their game changes so much. Maybe they'll go hang out in the police station and set up barricades and attack anybody who enters. Maybe they'll just be roaming around the board, picking up cards, leaving cards behind. Maybe they'll just be psychopaths and just attacking everybody in, trying to keep people inside the colony and starving them out, like they're under siege. And these are all just such clever mechanics that beautifully reflect how real people would actually react to a zombie-based crisis. Excellent. I know they're very nice cards, by the way. Social seduction, dwindling supplies, egocentrism, all these things and more are in the veggie pot that is Dead of Winter. And for a very reasonable price, as you can see here, Dead of Winter can be yours, and you get quite a lot of bang for your buck as well. There are beautiful components, tons of dice, tons of counters, very nicely made paper standees, or cardboard standees, a unique board, a very well-written manual with a link on the cover to a video that will teach the game for you officially. There are so many reasons to buy this game. And if you're like me, and you believe that board games are more than just plastic and wood and cardboard, and they can actually become more than what they are with the help of human interaction, then you absolutely will love this game. And your friends probably will too. Shit, okay, hold on, 1 second. Okay, alright, so there is something that you should know before you make your purchase. Dead of Winter is a game where you're kind of working together, but you're kind of not working together, as I've said. But this is not unique to the game. This is a game mechanic called semi-cooperative, and it is a game mechanic like worker placement or area control, which means that there are other games like it. There is a game called Archipelago, which is semi-cooperative. It has a morale track. It has exploration. It has sort of a crisis every turn. It's very similar to the game with a very different theme, if you will. And the only reason I don't own it though is because it's not in print, and where I live, you can't get it for a reasonable price. So consider that. And if you can find it for a better deal, and you're kind of sick of zombies, like the rest of the world is, then maybe you should consider that, because you might find it more lively in the Pacific rather than a cold, desolate town.
And that's my review of Dead of Winter. Excellent game. Nice box. And that's my review of Dead of Winter. Excellent game, very clever in many, many ways, and it proves that story-based games or games with story elements can still have a sort of replayability to them. As long as you don't play with two players. Don't play with two players. It's not very fun at all. But I assume that, unlike me, you actually go outside every now and then, and you have a few friends who will be willing to try this game out if you picked it up at your friendly local gaming store. And yeah, for a zombie game, it's quite good because the market of board gaming, but also just of media, feels like it's being more and more saturated with zombies. But this stands out because the tension is directed not on, the hordes of undead, but on the very people inside the game, and that's brilliant. So, if you agree with me, you like this review, then pull your 45, holster your debit card, and I'll see you next time when I review another game. That was a killer finale, Philip. Excellent work.